Hi there, I'm going to show you how to minimize brush strokes when painting trim using 3 simple steps. Ready, go! Yo, what's cracking, folks? Jeremy Vassar here with another brush-related video. One of the comments that I answer quite a bit on this channel is related to people's finishes looking too brushy, oftentimes on trim and doors. I've already done a couple videos on the best way to get a hand brush finish for a 6-panel door. I will link to that up here if you're interested in that. This video will be mostly about trim. One thing to note before I get into my snazzy 3-step process is to be realistic with your expectations of whatever it is you're painting. If you're doing a hand brush finish, you're gonna see brush strokes, but they should just look a certain way that is the most aesthetically pleasing. So that is really the goal of this video, is to show you fine folks at home the best way I know how to lay down a hand brush finish and to do it properly so that it looks super nice and awesome. One other thing to consider is looking at the surface that you're painting over and seeing how it's previously been finished. So if it's been painted poorly in the past where the brush strokes look really choppy and there's a lot of stuff going on, then if you don't prep that out properly, that is going to show through when you go over it with your finished paint. Onward to my snazzy 3-step process. Numero uno is product selection. There are certain products that lend themselves more to a hand brush finish than others, and they do a good job with that. The 2 products that I really like using are Emerald Urethane Trim Enamel from Sherwin-Williams and Advance from Benjamin Moore. Both those products do a really nice job. They're both hybrids, so they're water-based, sort of, but they have a lot of stuff pumped into them that give them some of the properties of an oil-based product, particularly the open time and how much they level out. So, and what that means is when you lay the product down with a brush, it stays wet a relatively long time so that the little brush marks and stuff that you've laid down have more of a time to kind of gel together. And then the paint is trying to level out and basically be as like flat and smooth as it can be. Advance particularly, if you lay that product down well with a brush, that's the closest thing I've seen to having no brush strokes of any of the products that I've used. It has a super long open time, which can be really inconvenient if you're trying to do multiple coats in a day or you're on a tighter time frame. That's generally why we go with Emerald Urethane Trim Enamel on the majority of the work that we do. Now that we've established what product we're going to use, now it's time to select a proper brush. The brush that I like the most for laying down hybrids is this one right here, which is the Vegas from Corona. This is a 2.5-inch sash variety. It comes in other shapes and sizes as well, but this is what I like using. And the reason I like it is because this is all soft bristles. These are all nylon, and the diameter of the bristles is very small, and the bristles are packed in tight together, so it lays down the hybrids really smoothly, versus something that's kind of like a medium would be a Cortez, which is a mixture of polyester and nylon. This blend is kind of really common amongst a lot of interior brushes as well. This does a decent job. You just have a little bit more of the stiffer bristles, which can lend itself to a little bit more of a brushy look. So now we know what brush we're using and what paint we're using. It's time for step number 3, which is the trickiest of the bunch, which is technique, because that involves skill and whatnot. All right, so one of the things you're gonna hear painters say when you paint trim is to paint with the grain of the wood. So you can see the grain pattern of the wood. It's going, right now in this orientation, it's going vertically. If I'm painting this, I'm gonna use horizontal brush strokes going this way. So that's how I would be laying down product, as opposed to going up and down like this, which is gonna look like balls. And then that's true for really any orientation of trim. A couple quick examples. If you're painting baseboard, that's long horizontal pieces. Your brush strokes are gonna be going horizontally. If you're painting a door frame, the sides of the door frame, you're gonna be painting those vertically with vertical brush strokes. The other thing that I know when I've messed something up, if I overwork the paint, which is when you brush back into it far too much. I've seen this a lot even with professionals that overwork a product and they're like, the brush is going crazy back and forth. You really don't need to do that. Lay down the product and leave it be. If you have something that looks weird in the paint, particularly if I don't think I can address it in the second coat, because I'm almost always doing 2 coats of trim paint, you can do a strafing run, which generally you have a little bit of paint on the brush and just hit it real quick, and that'll even it out. One of the things that I had to get used to was how much the hybrid products will even out. It's a good idea to give it a minute to settle before you start messing with it, and that kind of lends itself to the thing that I said about overworking the product. when you lay down the hybrid, whether it's advanced or emerald urethane or something else, when it comes off the brush, as it dries, it's going to look different than how you painted it. It's just something that you're gonna have to develop with using the product and getting a little bit more experience with it, is how it looks when it actually dries. Oftentimes, if I notice something on the first coat, I'll let it go because I almost always do 2 coats of trim on all the trim and doors that we do. So a lot of times if you notice something like a little snafu or an error that you made in coat number 1, let it dry and then come back and address it before you do coat number 2. You can sand it down, fill it, whatever you need to do, and then lay down your second coat, and that's the one that really matters as far as getting it all dialed in before that starts to cure. So that is gonna do it for me, my friends. I hope that was helpful in some way, shape, or form. Until next time, y'all take it easy, work smart, and have a good one. Peace.
Amazing.